When did protecting someone turn you into their enemy? I never thought protecting someone I loved would turn me into the villain in their story, but that's exactly what happened. And the worst part, I still don't know if I was wrong, or if they were just too blind to see the truth. It started with my younger brother, Evan. He was always the charming one, the kind of guy who could walk into a room and everyone instantly liked him. I envied that growing up, but I also protected him, always. When he got into fights at school, I lied to teachers and said I'd started them. When he borrowed Dad's car and dented the side mirror, I swore it was me who'd scraped it against the mailbox. Even when he broke Mom's necklace and tried to glue it back together, I stood there red-faced and admitted guilt. Because that's what older brothers do, right? They protect. But somewhere along the way, protecting him started to feel like covering up crimes instead of mistakes. The first real crack came the night I got a call at 2 a.m. Evan's voice was shaky. Please, come get me. Don't tell Mom and Dad. I drove half asleep to a gas station on the edge of town. When I pulled up, Evan was sitting on the curb, his hoodie stained dark around the cuffs. I thought it was dirt until I saw the red sheen under the streetlight. Whose blood is that? I whispered. He shook his head violently. Doesn't matter. Just take me home. But it did matter. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, the whole ride back, every mile stretching longer as I imagined sirens pulling up behind me. But nothing happened. No cops. No questions. Just Evan staring out the window like he'd left part of himself back there. The next morning, Mom asked why my shoes were muddy. I lied without hesitation. Car trouble. That was the first time I felt my stomach knot when protecting him, like I'd just swallowed poison and smiled through it. Weeks later, I found out what happened that night. Evan had been at a bar, underage of course, mouthing off to some guy twice his size. It turned into a fight in the parking lot. Evan swung a bottle. It shattered across the guy's forehead. The man needed 20 stitches. And Evan? He walked away with a bruised knuckle, and a story that kept changing every time I asked. I wanted to scream at him, but when I tried, he looked at me with those same pleading eyes he'd had since we were kids. The ones that said, please, don't stop being on my side. So, I stayed silent. Then came the girl, Maya. She was sweet, kind, maybe too kind for someone like Evan. She had this soft laugh that made you feel like she was letting you in on a secret. She started coming around more often, and for a while, it looked like Evan was finally getting his life together. He got a steady job at a car shop, even started talking about saving for an apartment. I let myself believe maybe he was changing, but then I noticed the way Maya flinched sometimes when he reached for her hand too quickly. The way she wore long sleeves in July. Once, when she was washing dishes, her bracelet slipped down, and I saw a bruise shaped like fingers around her wrist. Did he do that to you? I asked quietly when Evan went out to smoke. Her eyes darted to the door, then back to me. It's not what you think, but it was. I knew it. I'd seen too much. That night, when Evan was asleep, I stood in the kitchen staring at the knife block, my hands trembling. I wanted to wake him, shove his face into the truth, force him to admit what he was doing. Instead, I sat at the table until sunrise, waiting for him to come down for coffee. When he did, I said, if you ever touch her again, I swear to God, I'll ruin you. His smile vanished. For the first time in years, he didn't look like my little brother. He looked like a stranger. You'd betray me? After everything. Betray. That was the word he chose. Not protect. Not save. Betray. And from that moment, something shifted between us. Because a week later, Maya came to me, tears streaming down her face. She begged me not to tell anyone what Evan had done, begged me to keep protecting him. But when I saw the bruises on her ribs, I knew silence wasn't an option anymore. I called the police. Evan was arrested the next morning outside his job. The look he gave me as they cuffed him still haunts me. A mix of shock, rage, and something worse, pure hatred. At the station, he screamed at me across the bars. You were supposed to protect me. You're my brother, not my enemy. But wasn't protecting Maya protecting him too? Protecting him from becoming a monster he couldn't come back from. Mum wouldn't speak to me. Dad said I'd sold my family out. Even Maya, she stopped answering my calls after she gave her statement. And me? I was left with the question that won't let me sleep at night. When did protecting someone turn me into their enemy? I thought it ended there, but I was wrong. Because Evan didn't stay in jail. He got out. And when he did, the real nightmare began. The kind that made me realize some betrayals are necessary, even if they cost you everything. The day Evan got out of jail was the day my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls from Mom, a voicemail from Dad, a single text from Evan. We need to talk. Alone. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what he wanted to say. That night, I found myself sitting in the dark on my porch, the summer heat clinging to my skin, waiting for headlights to appear. I didn't know if I wanted him to come or not. My hands kept shaking, and I couldn't tell if it was fear or guilt. He showed up just after midnight, walking up the path like he still belonged here. He didn't knock, just pushed the door open and stepped inside. I'd imagined this moment for weeks, what I'd say, how I'd stand my ground, but when I saw him, I froze. He looked thinner, harder. His jaw was clenched tight, his eyes wild like he hadn't slept in days. You called the cops on me, he said. No hello, no pretense. You left me no choice, I answered, though my voice cracked on the word choice. No choice? He laughed, bitter and sharp. I'm your brother. You're supposed to protect me. I did, I snapped. I protected you from yourself, from becoming... I stopped because the word monster hovered on my tongue, and I wasn't ready to say it out loud. His smile was thin. You think you're the hero here? You don't get it. You ruined everything. My job, my future. Maya, his voice broke when he said her name, but I saw the flicker in his eyes. Not love, possession. She was scared of you, Evan, I said, stepping closer. She begged me. Liar. His hand slammed down on the table, rattling the dishes. You always wanted to control me. Just like Dad, always looking down at me like I was some screw-up you had to babysit. I swallowed hard. He wasn't entirely wrong. I had always been the one cleaning up after him, covering for him, carrying his weight. But this wasn't about control. This was about survival. You need help, I said carefully. Real help. Counseling. Something. He leaned in so close I could feel his breath on my face. I need my brother back. The silence between us stretched like a wire about to snap. Then he pulled away, pacing like a caged animal. You think you saved her? You think you saved me? All you did was make enemies, man. Everyone's looking at me like I'm trash now. And it's your fault. Evan. He spun, jabbing a finger at me. Don't you dare say my name like you still know me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the chair by the window, listening for his footsteps outside, convinced he'd come back. The next morning, Mum showed up unannounced. She stood in my kitchen with tears streaking her face. How could you do this to your own brother? I felt the words like punches. Mum, you saw the bruises. You saw. She told me she fell. Mom interrupted sharply. And you believed her lies because you wanted to, because it made it easier to betray him. I stared at her, stunned. You think Maya lied? I think family comes first, she said, her voice trembling with conviction. And you chose a stranger over your own blood. It hit me then Mom wasn't just in denial. She needed to believe Evan was good, because if he wasn't, then what did that say about her as a mother? Dad wasn't any better. When I called him, he didn't yell. He just sighed like I'd disappointed him one too many times. You didn't handle this right. You made us look weak. We fixed things inside this family, not out there where the whole damn world can see. The whole damn world. That was Dad's worry, not Evan's violence, not Maya's pain, but reputation. That night, I locked every door, checked every window twice. My gut told me this wasn't over. And I was right. 3 days later, Maya called me from a blocked number. Her voice was barely above a whisper. He found me. My blood ran cold. Where are you? A motel off the highway. Room 12. Please don't tell him I called you. I was already grabbing my keys. Stay there. I'm coming. The drive felt endless. Headlights slicing through the dark. My chest ached with the weight of it all. I was supposed to protect her. I was supposed to protect him. But now I didn't know if protecting one meant destroying the other. When I pulled into the motel lot, I spotted her silhouette through the thin curtains. She looked small, fragile, like a shadow of the girl I'd met months ago. But when she opened the door, I realized my mistake. She wasn't alone. Evan was sitting on the bed, smiling like he'd been waiting for me all along. The sight of him sitting there calm, collected, like this was all some twisted family reunion knocked the air right out of me. Close the door, Evan said casually, like he owned the place. Maya's eyes darted between us, wide and pleading. Her hands trembled so badly she could barely grip the edge of her sweater. I stepped inside slowly, my body tense, every nerve screaming trap. I kept the door cracked just in case, but Evan's gaze flicked toward it. Shut it. Now. I did. The lock clicked into place, and for the first time, I realized just how small the motel room really was. One bed, a rickety chair, a single lamp buzzing faintly in the corner, and nowhere to run. What the hell are you doing here? I asked, my voice low. Evan leaned back against the headboard, arms stretched wide like a king on his throne. Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. Following me? Keeping tabs like always? Maya whispered. I called him. That wiped the smirk off Evan's face. His head snapped toward her, eyes narrowing. You what? She stammered. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. For a moment, I thought he was going to hit her right there. His hand twitched, his jaw clenched, but then his eyes shifted back to me. A slow smile crept back across his face. So this is how it is. My own girlfriend, my own brother, teaming up against me. You're hurting her, Evan, I said, forcing each word. You're hurting yourself. It has to stop. He laughed loud, sharp, unhinged. Stop? You think you get to tell me when to stop? You've been trying to control me since we were kids. Always the perfect son, always the golden boy cleaning up my messes, so everyone could see how much better you were. I felt my chest tighten. That's not true. Bullshit, he shouted, slamming his fist against the nightstand. The lamp rattled. Maya flinched so hard she nearly fell off the chair. I raised my hands, trying to keep my voice steady. Listen to me. This isn't about me. This is about you crossing a line you can't come back from. You lay one more hand on her, and you don't just lose her. You lose everything. Evan's eyes burned into me, and for a second, I thought he might lunge. But then he smiled again, calmer this time. Too calm. You know what, brother? You're right. Maybe I did screw up. Maybe I got angry. But family doesn't call the cops. Family doesn't turn their back. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper that chilled me. You betrayed me. And betrayals don't get forgiven. Maya started crying silently, covering her mouth with her hands. I took a step toward her, but Evan stood instantly, blocking me. His body filled the space between us, his presence electric with rage. You want to save her? He sneered. Then you'll have to go through me. For a long moment, we just stared at each other, breathing heavy, the air between us thick with years of resentment. Then, with deliberate slowness, Evan reached into his jacket pocket. My heart stopped. I braced for a weapon, a knife, anything. But what he pulled out was worse. A photograph. It was us as kids sitting on the swings in our backyard, popsicles in hand, grinning at the camera. A perfect summer memory. You see this? He said, shaking the photo. This was real. Before you turned on me. Before you decided you were better. I was happy then. We both were. And now? Now all I've got is a brother who'd rather see me rot than stand by my side. His voice cracked, and for one fleeting second, I almost saw the kid he used to be. The one I'd sworn to protect. But then he tore the photo in half, tossed the pieces at my feet, and hissed, "We're done." He grabbed Maya's wrist, yanking her toward the door. She whimpered, struggling, but he tightened his grip. Let her go, I shouted, stepping forward. Evan turned, eyes blazing. Or what? You'll call the cops again? Go ahead. See how much she thanks you when I'm gone, and she's left with nothing. Maya's sobs filled the room. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Do I fight him here, risk it all spiraling into violence? Or do I let him walk out that door and hope I find another chance to save her? My fists clenched. My jaw ached. And then Evan said the words that made my blood run cold. She's mine. Always has been. Always will be. And if I can't have her, no one will. That was when I knew. This wasn't about protection anymore. This was about survival. And I was running out of time. The way he said it calm, final, like he was reciting scripture froze me in place. Maya's body stiffened under his grip, her eyes wide and glassy with terror. She tried to pull free, but his hand only clamped harder, the tendons in his arm tightening like steel cables. Evan, I said, my voice low, steady, trying to sound braver than I felt. Listen to yourself. That's not love. That's a threat. He smirked. And what do you know about love? You've never had to fight for anyone. You've never had to bleed for anyone. You just sit up on your high horse, handing out judgments like you're God himself. I'm not God, I said, taking a cautious step closer. But I am your brother, and I'm not letting you destroy her. Or yourself. For a second, his face softened. A flicker of something familiar, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by raw fury. Stay back, he hissed. Maya let out a choked sob. Her knees buckled, and he yanked her upright. The sound of her pain snapped something in me. I lunged. The next few seconds blurred into chaos, my shoulder colliding with his chest. The three of us crashing into the knitstand, the lamp shattering as we hit the floor. Evan cursed, his grip loosening just long enough for Maya to stumble free. Run, I shouted. She didn't hesitate. She bolted for the door, yanking it open and vanishing into the night. Evan's fist caught me across the jaw before I could react. Pain exploded through my skull, stars bursting in my vision. He scrambled on top of me, swinging wildly, his knuckles splitting my lip, bruising my cheek. You ruined everything, he screamed, spit flying. Everything. I managed to twist, shoving him off balance, rolling us both across the broken glass. My hand closed around a shard, sharp and slick with blood. I didn't even know whose blood it was, his, mine, both. Evan, stop, I gasped, holding the shard between us. His eyes flicked to the weapon, then back to me. And for the first time, I saw fear there. Not much, but enough. You wouldn't, he said. I didn't know if he was right. We froze like that, two brothers on opposite ends of a lifetime of secrets, betrayals, and unspoken truths. My hand trembled around the shard. His chest heaved, rage simmering just beneath the surface. Then came the sirens. Faint at first, then growing louder. Red and blue lights flashed against the curtains, cutting through the tension like a blade. Maya had called them. She must have run straight to the front desk. Evan's expression twisted into something I'll never forget, pure betrayal, mixed with a strange, almost childlike hurt. You did this, he whispered. Before I could answer, he shoved me hard and bolted for the bathroom window. The glass squealed as he forced it open and slipped out into the night. By the time the cops burst through the door, he was gone. They found me bleeding on the floor, hands cut, lips split, heart racing like a trapped animal. Where is he? One of the officers demanded. Gone, I rasped. He's gone. The motel room swarmed with uniforms. Cameras flashed as they photographed the wreckage. The shattered lamp, the blood smeared across the floor, the torn photo lying in pieces. Maya sat outside in the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket, her face pale. She wouldn't look at me. At the hospital, while they stitched up my lip and cleaned the cuts on my hands, I tried to convince myself I'd done the right thing. I'd saved her. I'd stopped him. But when Mum showed up, her face was hard, her eyes sharp with fury. You called the police on him again, she accused. Do you have any idea what this is doing to our family? I laughed bitterly, though it hurt my ribs. What it's doing to our family? He could have killed her, Mom. She shook her head like I was speaking another language. You don't understand. He needs us. He needs you. For the first time, I realized she didn't just excuse his behavior, she enabled it. She needed to believe he was still worth saving. And anyone who challenged that was the enemy. Even me. When I got home that night, every lock clicked into place behind me. My house felt colder, emptier. The silence pressed against my chest until I could barely breathe. And then my phone buzzed. One new message. Blocked number. You can't protect her forever. And you can't hide from me. Not now. Not ever. The blood drained from my face. Because I knew Evan. When he made a promise like that, he always kept it. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house, every groan of the pipes felt like his footsteps creeping closer. I sat in the dark with a baseball bat across my lap, my phone clenched in my hand, waiting for another message that never came. By morning, exhaustion had carved shadows under my eyes, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. I called Maya first thing, desperate to hear her voice. She answered on the second ring, whispering, "Please don't call me again." "Maya, wait. I can't," she said quickly. "The police want me to stay quiet, and I can't deal with this anymore. With you, with him, with all of it." The line went dead. I stared at the phone numb. I'd lost her too. Mum stopped answering my texts. Dad sent a single message. "You've gone too far. Don't come around until you fix this mess." And Evan? Evan vanished like smoke. No one knew where he was. No one admitted to seeing him. But I felt him everywhere like a shadow just out of reach, like a storm building over the horizon. 3 days passed before the first real sign came. I walked out to my car one morning to find every window smashed, glass glittering across the driveway like ice. A single word was carved into the hood with a knife. Traitor. My stomach dropped. He wanted me to know it was him. He wanted me to feel it. I reported it, of course. The officer at the station took one look at the damage, then at me, and sighed. Family trouble? I didn't answer. That night, as I sat at the kitchen table going over insurance forms, I noticed the blinds shifting in the living room. Just a flicker, a shadow passing by the window. My chest tightened. I crept forward, heart pounding, and pulled the blinds open. Nothing, just the empty street. But when I turned around, there was a folded piece of paper tucked under my door. I picked it up with shaking hands. You can lock the doors. I'll always find a way in. I called the police again. They searched the yard, the street, even the alley behind the house. Nothing. No fingerprints on the note. No footprints in the grass. But I knew it was him. I could feel it. Sleep became impossible. I jumped at every noise, every flicker of movement. I started carrying the bat with me from room to room, leaving lights on all night like a scared child. My neighbors must have noticed, but no one asked. No one ever asks until it's too late. And then came the night. I heard the back door creak open. It was soft, almost careful. But in the dead silence of 3 a.m., it might as well have been a gunshot. I grabbed the bat, my hands slick with sweat, and crept down the hall. My heart hammered so loud I was sure he could hear it. The kitchen was dark, shadows stretching long across the floor. The door was cracked open, the cool night air seeping inside. Evan, I whispered, though my voice shook. Silence. Then a whisper, so close it made my skin crawl. You're supposed to protect me. I spun, swinging the bat wildly, but it hit nothing but air. My eyes darted everywhere, corners, shadows, under the table, but the room was empty. I slammed the door shut, locked it, braced a chair under the handle. My whole body trembled as I backed into the hallway, bat raised like a lifeline. That's when I saw it. Another note, sitting on the stairs like it had been waiting for me. You've chosen your side. Don't be surprised when the family does too. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. I needed answers. I needed to know if they were helping him. Mom opened the door, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. What are you doing here? Where is he? I demanded. She flinched. I don't know. Don't lie to me, Mom. Her lips trembled. He called, he said you were trying to kill him, that you'd set him up. I staggered back, stunned. What? He's the one threatening me. But she shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. You don't understand. He sounded so scared. He said he doesn't know why his own brother hates him so much. The words hit like knives. He wasn't just turning me into the enemy. He was rewriting the story. And they believed him. I left before Dad came home, before I said something I couldn't take back. But as I drove away, I saw movement in the rearview mirror. A figure standing at the edge of the woods, just beyond their backyard, watching me, even from that distance. I knew it was him, and I knew this was only the beginning. I couldn't shake that image, the silhouette in the trees, still as stone, watching me drive away. All day, it replayed in my mind. I tried to convince myself maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was just some neighbor, some hunter cutting through the woods. That deep down, I knew. Evan wanted me to see him, to know he was there. That night, I boarded up the back door. It felt paranoid, but paranoia was all I had left. I barely ate, barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his whisper again. You're supposed to protect me. 3 nights later, the whispers returned. I woke to the sound of footsteps on the porch. Slow, deliberate. Then the faint rattle of the front doorknob. I grabbed the bat, my breath shallow, and tiptoed toward the sound. My phone was already in my pocket, my thumb hovering over 911. The knob stilled. Silence pressed against the walls. Then tap, tap. 3 slow knocks on the glass window beside the door. I froze, staring at the blurry figure outside. The porch light flickered just enough for me to see the outline of his face pressed against the glass. Open up, brother, he whispered. My throat tightened. Go away, Evan. You think you're safe in there? His voice was calm, too calm. You think the locks matter? You think calling the cops matters? They'll never protect you. Only I can do that. Protect me from what? I shot back. My voice cracked, betraying my fear. From yourself. His lips curled into a crooked smile before he disappeared into the night. The cops came 20 minutes later, but he was long gone. They searched the yard, the street, the woods, nothing. One officer, tired and unconvinced, muttered, sounds like a family dispute. Maybe you should talk it out before this escalates. Escalates. As if it hadn't already. The next morning, I found spray paint scrawled across my garage door. Enemy. I scrub it until my arms ached, but the red bled through every layer of paint, like the word itself had stained the wood. By then, I realized I couldn't fight him alone. So I went back to Maya. She opened the door cautiously, her face pale when she saw me. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. He's targeting me now, I said, my voice raw. It's not just you anymore. He's escalating. Her eyes filled with tears. Do you think I don't know that? He's been calling me non-stop. Different numbers. Different voices. Sometimes he just breathes into the phone. My chest tightened. You have to let the police protect you. She shook her head violently. They can't. You don't get it. He doesn't stop. He doesn't give up. I wanted to argue, but her shaking hands told me everything. She was already broken down, already living in the same prison of fear I was. Before I left, she whispered, be careful. He hates you more than anyone now, because you tried to take me away from him. That night, I sat alone in my living room, the bat on the coffee table, my phone on the cushion beside me. I thought about our childhood, about all the times I'd lied to protect him, all the times I'd taken the blame so he could walk away clean. Had I created this? Had my protection given him permission to become who he was now? Around midnight, the house went dark. Every light, every hum of the refrigerator, every buzz of the clock gone. The power cut in a single instant. My heart slammed against my ribs. From outside came the sound of laughter, soft, familiar. Remember when the lights went out during that storm? Evan's voice drifted through the darkness. You held my hand because you were scared. You said you'd never let go. I stumbled toward the fuse box, but before I could reach it, something slid under the front door. Another note. I'm not the monster. You are. You betrayed me first. My knees buckled as I read the words, because deep down, part of me wondered if he was right. If I hadn't called the cops, if I just kept protecting him, maybe things wouldn't have spiraled this far. Maybe he wouldn't hate me enough to haunt every shadow of my life. But then I thought of Maya's bruises, her tears, her shaking hands. No, this wasn't on me. This was his choice. Still, the note burned in my palm. His handwriting was jagged, desperate, like he'd carved the words straight out of his own skin. And as I stood there in the suffocating dark, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't going to end with a call to the police. It wasn't going to end with a restraining order, or another night hiding behind locked doors. It was going to end with me and him, face to face, and only one of us walking away whole. The night after the blackout, I couldn't stay in that house anymore. Every corner felt haunted, every shadow too heavy. I packed a duffel bag, just clothes, my phone, the bat, and drove to a motel on the edge of town. It felt cowardly, running, but I told myself it was strategy. If he couldn't predict where I'd sleep, maybe I'd finally rest. I didn't. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the old air conditioner. My body refused to unclench. My mind replayed every word, every note, every whisper outside my door. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but fear always wins over reason. Hello? Static, then a low chuckle. You really thought you could hide? I sat upright, my throat dry. Evan, you're pathetic. He cut me off. Running, hiding, calling the cops like a scared little boy. You think that makes you strong? It makes you weak, and it makes me hate you more. I tried to keep my voice steady. If you hate me so much, why don't you just leave me alone? Silence. Then, because you're all I have left. The line went dead. I stared at the phone long after the call ended, my chest tight. The truth was, I didn't know if he was threatening me or begging me. Maybe both. The next morning, I drove to the police station again. I demanded a restraining order. The officer behind the desk gave me the same tired look I'd seen too many times. Sir, without concrete evidence. He's leaving notes. He's vandalizing my property. He's calling me at 3 in the morning. Do you have recordings? Fingerprints? Witnesses? My silence was answer enough. Look, the officer sighed. Family disputes get messy. Best thing you can do is stay away from him. Don't provoke him. Stay away, don't provoke. Easy advice when you weren't the one with your brother's breath on the other side of your door. I left the station shaking with rage. That night, back at the motel, I found another note slipped under my door. You always wanted to be the hero. Let's see if you still can when it's her life on the line. Her, Maya. My blood went cold. I called her over and over, but she didn't answer. By the 10th call, I was already in my car, the bat on the passenger seat, flying down the highway toward her apartment. When I pulled up, her front door was ajar. Maya? My voice cracked as I stepped inside. The place was a mess. A lamp knocked over, cushions torn, glass scattered across the floor. My heart hammered as I searched room to room, whispering her name like a prayer. Then I heard a muffled sob. I found her in the bedroom, duct tape around her wrists, a gag pressed over her mouth. Her eyes were wide, swollen from crying. I rushed to her, tearing the tape away. Are you okay? Did he? Her voice was raw. He said you'd come. He said you'd finally choose. Before I could ask what she meant, movement flickered in the corner. Evan stepped out of the closet. He looked almost serene, like this had all been carefully staged. In his hand was a knife, long and gleaming under the dim light. I knew you'd show up, he said. You always do. I shoved Maya behind me, gripping the bat so tight my knuckles turned white. Let her go, Evan. His head tilted, his smile chilling. Funny, that's exactly what she said when I found her. My chest heaved. This ends tonight. Oh, it does, he agreed softly, but not the way you think. He lifted the knife, and in that moment, I saw it, the truth I'd been avoiding for months. This wasn't just anger. This wasn't just resentment. This was war. Maya whimpered behind me. Evan's eyes burned into mine, and I realized there was no more running, no more hiding. No more protecting. It was me or him, brother against brother, and only one of us was leaving this room alive. The room pulsed with tension, the knife gleaming in Evan's hand like it was already tasting blood. I raised the bat higher, forcing myself to meet his eyes. You don't have to do this, I said, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. He smirked. Of course I do. You left me no choice. You betrayed me, twice. Maya whimpered behind me. I could feel her trembling against my back, her breath shallow, her fear pouring into me. Evan's voice dropped, calm and venomous. So here's the deal. You want her safe. You'll drop that bat. You'll admit you were wrong. You'll say you were the monster, not me. I swallowed hard. My whole life I'd carried his mistakes on my shoulders, lied for him, protected him, covered the blood on his hands with my own silence. And now, he wanted me to shoulder the blame for everything. No, I whispered. His smile faltered. What did you say? I said no. My grip tightened on the bat. I protected you my whole life, Evan, and you hated me for it. You wanted freedom? Fine, but I won't protect you anymore. Not from her. Not from yourself. His jaw clenched, his knuckles whitened around the knife. You'll regret that. You lunged. The world collapsed into chaos. The knife flashing, the bat swinging, Maya screaming. The first clash was instinct, steel against wood, the sound ringing through the room like a gunshot. His strength surged through every strike, years of rage funneled into each swing of the blade. I swung wild, desperate, landing a blow against his arm. He snarled in pain, the knife clattering to the floor. For a split second, I thought it was over, but Evan was relentless. He threw himself at me, fists pounding, teeth bared. We crashed into the dresser, the wood splintering under our weight. I could smell his sweat, his breath, the feral heat of him. You were supposed to protect me, he roared, his hands clawing for my throat. I choked, gasping, stars bursting in my vision as his grip tightened. Maya's voice echoed through the haze. Stop, please stop. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was survival. Maybe it was years of pent-up anger. Maybe both. I grabbed the bat with both hands and swung with everything I had left. The crack echoed like thunder. Evan staggered back, his eyes wide with shock, blood trickling down his temple. He stumbled, reaching out like he expected me to catch him, like he was still my little brother needing protection. Then he collapsed. The silence afterward was deafening. Maya's sobs filled the air, raw and shaking. My chest heaved, my hands trembling so badly I almost dropped the bat. I stared at him lying there on the floor, motionless. His chest rose once, twice, then stilled. My throat tightened, my knees gave out, and I fell beside him. He looked smaller then, not the monster who stalked me in the shadows, not the man who carved threats into my doors, but the boy I'd grown up with, the boy I'd promised to protect, and I'd killed him. The police came minutes later. Neighbors had heard the screams, the crash, the chaos. Red and blue lights painted the walls as officers swarmed the apartment. Maya clung to me, sobbing into my shirt, as they pulled me up and asked 1,000 questions I barely heard. Self-defense, one officer muttered after seeing the knife. The bruises on my throat, the blood spattered across the floor, but I didn't feel defended. I felt destroyed. In the days that followed, the story spread like wildfire. Some said I was brave, that I'd saved Maya's life. Others whispered I'd snapped, that I'd wanted him gone all along. Mum didn't speak at the funeral. She just stared at me with eyes hollow and wet, like I'd ripped her heart out. Dad's hand was heavy on her shoulder, his glare sharp enough to cut. I stood at the back, unwelcome, unwanted. When the coffin lowered into the ground, I couldn't breathe. It felt like the earth was swallowing not just him, but every memory, every lie, every moment I'd spent trying to shield him from the world. I thought about that torn photograph, the one he'd thrown at my feet. 2 boys on a swing, smiling like the world would always be simple. That boy was gone long before the coffin closed. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear his voice. You're supposed to protect me. And I whisper back, to the darkness, to the ghost that lingers in every corner. I tried. God, I tried. But in the end, protection turned into betrayal. And betrayal turned into blood. That was the day I stopped recognizing who I was. That was the day protecting someone made me their enemy. And it will haunt me for the rest of my life.